than to a sporting event. The atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game Time Decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen. And the answer is, it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Hello and welcome to a Thursday Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination to consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We were excited for this Thursday morning with a focus on the association because finally, after a full week off, it is the opening night of the 2024 NBA Finals. Game number 1 inside TD Garden between the Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks. But it seems as though, DRS, the NBA is not waiting till this Thursday evening in Beantown. It got started bright and early on this Thursday morning. A bombshell Adrian Wojnarowski report for ESPN within the last hour that the Los Angeles Lakers are targeting UConn's Dan Hurley to become their next head coach, preparing to offer Hurley a long-term and lucrative contract to make him the head man of this Lakers organization for many years to come. Even further saying in that report by Woj, DRS, that a contract is already in place and they are planning to amp up those conversations in the coming days.
Strike while the iron's hot. This makes a lot of sense. You're a back-to-back national champion there at UConn. You are a sensational head coach, and your ultimate goal is to make as much money as you possibly can, which a move from Connecticut over to Los Angeles. I don't know what the dollar figures will be, but I assume Dan Hurley is not coming for anything less than more money than anybody has ever made as a head coach in the NBA. Sure. It's the right move. You go from Connecticut, you go to LA, you get LeBron James, you can sort of take that franchise over. And also, I like what we're hearing out of the Lakers. This isn't let's just go after a star coach. I like the back channeling here that's talking about, look, we want this guy to be our head coach. This isn't a splash in the pan. 4 years, $60 million, see what you can do. No. We want this long-term plan where you can be in Los Angeles for 10 to 15 years and really build that model as a superstar head coach. We talk about it all the time. Los Angeles needs stars. This guy is a star at head coach. I think this move would be absolutely phenomenal. Now, the college game would take a hit because Hurley's so good for UConn here. But granted, it's not as if, well, what's UConn going to do? He's the only coach that can win a national championship at UConn. We know that's not the case. Multiple coaches have done that over the past 20 years. But Hurley to LA was a lightning bolt this morning that we got before even going on air.
There are so many ramifications if this deal comes to fruition, but it should be said, yesterday we were reporting the news here in 7 and 7 to start off our Wednesday edition of the Early Line that FanDuel TV Shams Charania was reporting the Lakers had zeroed in on J.J. Redick as the organization's next head coach. The former protege of Adrian Wojnarowski, Shams Charania, battling it out with his former master for who is correct on who the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers is going to be. We will dive deeper into this discussion, still very early in these preliminary conversations, in our next segment together, live right here on the Early Line. And oh, by the way, NBA basketball returns tonight with a championship at stake in game number 1 of the 2024 NBA Finals in Boston. But we start with some Major League Baseball recaps. Donnie, right side, could see the future. Many people here, myself included, balked at the idea of the LA Dodgers being a road underdog to the Pittsburgh Pirates, even on Skeens Day with Paul Skeens on the mound for the Buccos. We were wrong. Donnie, well, his last name is right side. 10-6 the victory for the Pirates. Paul Skeens improves to 3-0 in his first 5 MLB career starts, striking out 8. The Pirates win 10-6, a victory over the Dodgers in LA's only 3rd game as an underdog this season.
Yeah, shout out to the analytics crew. Stand up, baby, because we got a W yesterday and a big one. It was kind of odd when you say the Los Angeles Dodgers are a slight underdog against the Pirates. Where do I sign up at all costs? But when you took a look at the numbers yesterday, as we talked about 29 overall pitchers that qualified with 20 innings in 2024, the best on the card was Skeens. The worst on the card was Paxton. Played out that way. There you go. Walk away with a W if you took the Pirates.
And that really is what it was. James Paxton got shelled in the 2nd inning. The Pirates plating 7. What a battle it was on the other side. Paul Skeens versus Shohei Ohtani. In Ohtani's first AB, he was struck out in 3 consecutive pitches, all topping 100 miles per hour by Skeens, who had 8 Ks yesterday, the 4th time in his 5 starts, with at least 7 strikeouts in his outing. But then Ohtani hit a monstrous shot to dead straight center that was more than 400 feet in his next at-bat against Skeens. Ultimately, though, Pittsburgh does triumph on top. The Phillies complete a sweep yesterday. Some day baseball against the Milwaukee Brewers. Aaron Nola, sensational shutout work over 7 innings. And Nick Castellanos, a 2-run home run in the 5th. That was the only runs necessary for the Phillies, winning 2-0 over the Brew Crew.
Also, on a trip to London here, it's nice to have a getaway day where we pick up a victory, which includes a sweep over the Milwaukee Brewers, who were a first-place team. Only 6 combined hits in that game. But let's also talk about Nick Castellanos not having a great season. Had a walk-off in extra innings and now has the only runs accounted for in the Phillies' 2-0 win over the Brewers. So maybe that's a launching point for the Phils, as they are now 44-19 before heading overseas to take on the Mets.
Across the pond they go. The Mets coming off a sweep in the nation's capital against the Nats as well. 44 victories for the Philadelphia Phillies, tied for the most in Major League Baseball, as the Yankees have won 7 straight games. WNBA action last night and WNBA history last night for who should be the MVP this year. That's A'ja Wilson. A 36-point, 12-rebound, 6-steal performance as the Aces go into Dallas and knock off the Wings, winning by 14 and covering as a 9-point road favorite. A'ja Wilson, DRS, becoming the first player in W history to record 35 points, 10 boards, and 5 steals in a single game. A'ja Wilson, historic in many of the record books that stand in WNBA history. She notches another record mark last night.
On a night-to-night basis, like, you take a look at some of these numbers, like, yeah, some of these ladies are putting up fantastic stats. Then you take a look at Wilson every night. It just feels like we're going to start to turn into, like, the Jokic effect. Like, when's the triple-doubles every single night, where we're expecting 36 and 12s on a night-to-night performance? By far the MVP so far in the early WNBA season.
It was my best bet last night, A'ja Wilson to record a double-double and an Aces victory. 7 games now for Las Vegas, the 2-time reigning champs. They have won 5 of them, and in 6 of the 7, Wilson has recorded a double-double. Interesting moment last night for the Chicago Sky as they arrive for their game in the nation's capital to take on the Mystics this evening. Security was needed to de-escalate a situation outside of Chicago's team hotel, where reportedly, although there's still not a ton of images from the scene, there was an accoster there that was threatening Kennedy Carter. Of course, Carter was involved in the flagrant one foul of Caitlin Clark just a few nights ago.
Yeah, I saw the video, which I guess there's more to the story here. It didn't look all that bad, but at least now they have security and private planes where they can handle this, so it won't be an issue. But if we're talking about being treated equal, the men get this, the women get this, and here we go. We just hope it doesn't escalate any further than what we saw in that video, to be honest.
You should never be put into an uncomfortable situation at any instance, man or women, and we need to see further information. But many Sky players, including Angel Reese, taking to social media to detail what could be a very scary situation. By the way, WNBA officiating rescinding the second tech on Reese from 2 nights ago that had Angel Reese ejected. It was terrible officiating in the W. Oklahoma, 1 win away from its 4th consecutive Women's College World Series national championship as they roll over the Longhorns in game number 1 last night in OKC.
Yeah, how about that? A lot of long balls leaving the yard yesterday, but also just thinking about how OU probably shouldn't even be in this situation. Now it looks like they're going to be crowned national championship sooner, Ben, than later.
Sooner rather than later. 8-3, the victory for the Sooners yesterday. A ton of long balls to start for OU. Again, 1 win away from the first ever four-peat in college softball history. Ryan Kelly, who's the Colts rep to the National Football League Players Association, says an 18-game schedule would be too many. DRS, you agree?
No, as though what that means is pay us a little bit more money. We'll go to 30 games if you want, guys.
French Open semifinal start today on the women's side. Iga Swiatek versus Coco or Corey Goff. Dan Hurley news next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game Time Decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The 2024 NBA Finals begins tonight in Boston between the Celtics and the Mavericks. And we have been without true NBA content for a full week. The Celtics have not played in 10 days. And all of a sudden, on this Thursday morning, the NBA is back in full force. Not just ahead of the opening night of the 2024 NBA Finals, but the bombshell reporting from ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. He is known for dropping Woj bombs for a reason. At about 7 a.m. on this Thursday morning. I got a text from our executive producer, John Shames, because Adrian Wojnarowski blocks me on Twitter that the Lakers are targeting UConn's Dan Hurley to become the next head coach of that Los Angeles organization. And apparently, as the report goes to further say, it is going to be a massive and long-term contract to lure Dan Hurley to the City of Angels and away from Storrs, Connecticut, where the Huskies have won back-to-back national championships in men's college basketball.
I'll tell you what's interesting is the news cycle we always talk about. You know, the bad news from leagues, when's it come, Ben? 4:59 p.m. on a Friday, so nobody can really talk about it over the weekend, and a lot of stories will happen, and then Monday you soften the blow. Just imagine this, though. The NBA Finals are on the verge here, and we get a story that's not planted like at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, or let me hold this story for when we open up our talk about the NBA Finals tonight live on the air. 7 a.m., 6:30 a.m. on the East Coast here, we get this bombshell report about Dan Hurley, and also seemingly coming out of nowhere. So many times we take a look at, we understand the Los Angeles Lakers were waiting for their head coach, zeroing in. It looked like it was going to be J.J. Redick. But at no time did we ever think and say, you know what? Maybe they're probing some of the bigger college basketball names to be a Lakers head coach. And none bigger right now than Mr. Hurley. I love this story coming down. There's so many pieces to talk about, but let's be honest with this. Sometimes we always talk about, Ben, the Los Angeles Lakers, and yes, they're going to rule the timeline, and a lot of networks love to lead with LeBron James coverage. I don't think they're just planting this story as something to talk about with the Lakers. There's no way we would get it worded by Wojnarowski here with an absolute break-in on ESPN. We had to talk about it if there wasn't some smoke and fire, which means, Ben, they're probably 80% down that path and just coming to an agreement on some of those technicalities on how long this contract's going to be, maybe if there's exit clauses and how much compensation would be due if Dan Hurley was let go. But this certainly was a story we weren't anticipating, but it's great to finally talk about something like this.
So, yeah, DRS, a reporter of Adrian Wojnarowski's magnitude does not tweet this out, does not share this report, even with the phrasing targeting, as opposed to the Lakers have hired or agreed in principle to a contract, whatever it is, even with the phrasing that is targeting, that could allow for something in these contract talks to dissolve over the next 48, 72 hours, whatever it might be. Woj does not tweet that out unless it is on the doorstep of being completed. But on the other end of the equation, Shams Charania does also not tweet out the Lakers are zeroing in on J.J. Redick as the franchise's next head coach if he is not darn certain that J.J. is on his way to L.A. What adds to all of this cluster is that J.J. Redick is on the call tonight for game number 1 in Boston of the 2024 NBA Finals on ABC. Will the large elephant in the room be addressed? J.J. Redick, who hosts a podcast with LeBron James. How awkward is that next recording if J.J.'s not the head coach of L.A.? And in fact, it is Dan Hurley. There are so many different wrinkles to this conversation. Just on paper, it would make sense for Los Angeles to target a head coach like Dan Hurley, who has had great success in college basketball, but success in college hoops, what is asked of you as a head coach of a program, very, very different than what you see in the association. Because, Donnie, you often say in the NBA, you are often hired to be fired. And when you are LeBron James's head coach, you do not often get the credit that maybe you are deserving of. If you lead the Lakers to success with LeBron, even at age 40 on the roster, it's like, good. You have the greatest basketball player or one of the greatest basketball players of all time. If you even fall slightly below expectation, it's not LeBron on the chopping block. It's you. It's Dan Hurley. But apparently, as the reporting states from Woj, that Jeannie Buss, of course, the owner or governor of the Los Angeles Lakers, and GM Rob Pelinka have had Dan Hurley in mind at the forefront of their coaching search the entirety of this offseason so far.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think it's a great move if the Lakers can actually pull this off. And I didn't think they would be able to do that. So you might be going with a new head coach like a J.J. Redick or just a retread to get in there that LeBron James is going to pick. But also, there's some interesting stories behind this timeline as well, because I love when this stuff breaks. And it's great that we're up early. Like, we catch some of the stuff like the Scottie Scheffler getting arrested and we're first on it. But you can watch those initial reports come out before they're crafted. And one of the talking points, which is ridiculous for me, is this is the perfect coach for the Lakers because he's going to be the one to guide Bronny James when the Lakers draft him. Stop the madness. Like, we're not going to get Dan Hurley because we want to craft Bronny James into an NBA player. Like, this is a superstar head coach that's going, and also will have the ear of every single veteran player on that Lakers team, which includes LeBron James. Because number one, he comes from basketball royalty. Number two, he's put his time in. He's been there, the high school head coach for almost a decade, going to Rhode Island, building that program, even going to Wagner and also building that. And then staying up and saying, you know what, on the biggest stage at UConn, I'm going to win multiple national championships. Then I'm going to go to the pros. I think it's a perfect fit in Los Angeles. A lot of haters out there aren't going to like it, but please, just don't tell me they're picking Hurley because they need to get Bronny James going in the NBA. We don't need that added insult there. Come on.
So just a few months ago, Steve Kerr signed a 2-year contract extension with Golden State to the tune of $35 million. That's $17.5 million annually. Steve Kerr is the highest paid coach in the association. You would think Dan Hurley floats with that number. In fact, there are 3 coaches that make more than $15 million per year. That's Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich, and Eric Spoelstra. 5 years, $70 million was the contract extension that Tyronn Lue just signed with the LA Clippers. I'm trying to do mental math as I speak live on air. That's a little bit less. That's $14 million per year. You would think Dan Hurley, at bare minimum, would be there, if not becoming the highest paid coach in the NBA. We'll get to some Major League Baseball recaps on the other side. But it's not just the LA Lakers and what this means for LeBron James and Anthony Davis moving forward and the rest of their offseason. If it is, in fact, Dan Hurley now at the helm in Los Angeles, what does it mean for Connecticut? A team in the hunt for 3 consecutive national championships that at this current moment is listed as a co-favorite to cut down the nets for a 3rd straight season on the FanDuel Sportsbook. A little bit more on Dan Hurley if he leaves stores next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game Time Decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
3-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The breaking news as of this Thursday morning, reported by ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski about an hour and a half ago, the Los Angeles Lakers are targeting UConn's Dan Hurley as the organization's next head coach. A preliminary contract is in place. The conversations will be ongoing and probably ramping up over the next few days. We have discussed what this would mean for LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and this Lakers franchise moving forward. The confusion in who might be the actual head man, with Shams Charania reporting the Lakers had zeroed in on J.J. Redick. All of that still outstanding. But, Donnie, there's also the conversation from UConn's perspective, where Dan Hurley has guided the Huskies to absolute dominance the past 2 seasons. 2 straight national titles in stores, with a perfect 12-0 record then, of course, in the last 2 NCAA tournaments, and winning every single one of those games by at least double digits. UConn is also listed currently as a co-favorite alongside Kansas to win this year's national championship. And last week, the news around the association in terms of those teams in the offseason was the NBA draft deadline, and players that had enlisted in the draft making their final decision if they were staying in the NBA draft or returning to college basketball, where Alex Caravan, one of the leaders for UConn, was coming back to stores to help lead the Huskies to 3 straight national championships. Dan Hurley was at the large UFC fight this weekend, I believe in Newark as well, and on camera DRS did this: 1, 2, and then flashed to 3, as in UConn is in the hunt for a 3rd straight national championship, and yet Dan Hurley might not be at the helm of this Huskies program in just a few days.
Or was that 1, 2, 3, I'm tapping out, I just got pinned, and I'm out of UConn, headed out to Los Angeles? So apparently that's really what it meant here. But it is interesting to see, and also where UConn goes from that perspective. Come on, Ben. There's one phone call that you need to make, and it's out in an area code in Arizona. You bring the brother into UConn. It is a perfect fit for Bobby Hurley to come back home to the East Coast here and coach up UConn right after his brother. Would love to see that happen. But also, we're no longer feeling bad for the players in college basketball. Just transfer out, get some NIL money somewhere else, just like your coach is doing in the pros. So it's not as big as it used to be. It's like, oh, no, coach left. I'm stuck here. Now I can't get out of my contract with my NIL, which never was in place before. And if I do leave, I got to sit out a year. It's fine, man. These kids are going to move all around. We'll probably make even more money doing that. UConn is in a tough position because you lost an outrageously talented head coach. But there are going to be some people that look at that UConn job and say, that's a really good job. I would like to coach there. So I don't think they're going to be any too worse for the wear after this is said and done, even though you're losing a legendary head coach.
DRS, a man of the people and a pro's pro, transitioning us to the next point. A reminder of how things work in collegiate athletics now. In any sport, after there is a head coaching change, the players on the roster have a 30-day window to enter the transfer portal and find a new destination if they so choose. So if Dan Hurley at a point this week becomes the Lakers' next head coach, a 30-day window for the 2-time reigning NCAA tournament champions in men's Division I college basketball will open up to enter the transfer portal, and a roster that has cut down the nets 2 straight years could look wildly different if anybody even remains in stores. It is going to be open season for other college coaches across the country to get supreme talent on their rosters. Again, ramifications and things that will play out afterward if this decision, when this decision is ultimately made. Nothing is official just yet, but the Lakers are targeting, according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, Dan Hurley as the organization's next head coach. I guess we could stick with the theme of Los Angeles for the Dodgers on the road in PNC Park yesterday in Pittsburgh on Skeens Day number 5 in Major League Baseball history. And Paul Skeens and his Buccos, booked as a favorite, knocked off the LA Dodgers by a final score of 10-6. Pittsburgh winning as a favorite. They have been abysmal there this year, now just 9-14 straight up. Just the 3rd game for LA as an underdog, and they falter 10-6. Donnie also gave you Pittsburgh in the first 5. They did have that first 5 lead, I believe 7-3 by those 5 innings coming to a close.
Yeah, it wasn't a surprise that we had Pittsburgh there up at the end of 5 innings. The surprise was they got those 7 runs in the bottom of the second, basically icing out that first 5, which was great. And was one of those where it got a little bit tighter late in that baseball game, but the Pirates were better all the way through. And you take a look at Skeens on the mound. Who knows where he goes from here, but it's certainly fun every single time he takes the mound. A lot of Ks and a lot of excitement. That's what we love in baseball.
So we have a lot to get to now here in this opening hour of the early line on a Thursday on the opening night of the NBA Finals with some breaking news in the association. Find out next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game Time Decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
3-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Skeens Day number 5 for the Pittsburgh Pirates was another success. Pittsburgh, a favorite against the LA Dodgers, which has not happened often. The Dodgers just an underdog for the third time in 63 games this season. And the odds makers and Mr. Right Side were correct. Paul Skeens dealt once again yesterday, DRS, and now in his 5 career Major League Baseball starts, Skeens is a perfect 3-0. The Pirates have won 4 of his 5 starts. He has a 3.00 ERA in 27 innings of work and 38 total Ks in only 5 outings. In fact, in 4 of the 5, each game that Pittsburgh has won with Skeens getting the start, he has recorded at least 7 strikeouts, as we saw yesterday, 8 Ks against the LA Dodgers. Paul Skeens, the number 1 overall pick of this past summer's draft in 2023, is every bit the real deal.
Yeah, he's a really good pitcher. And also, you have to keep in mind, too, power arm there. Most of the teams haven't seen him just yet. And yesterday, look, he did have success. 5 innings pitched, 3 earned runs. But that's not as if we're talking about a guy that's going into the 8th inning here, only giving up 1 hit to the Dodgers lineup, who actually didn't even score the night before. It's a solid outing and something that you can build on. I'm interested to see, once the other teams do get a look at him, what that adjustment period is going to be. Because the one thing we do understand is he's going to get a lot of strikeouts, no doubt about it. And also like Pittsburgh, who really babied him in the minor leagues, not letting him pitch all that much, letting him pitch into the 90s right away, 90 pitches, I should say, into his career. But also handicapping the game yesterday, you sort of saw this playing out. You knew he's going to be thrown between 90 to 100 pitches, but typically with a strikeout guy, you're going to throw those pitches a lot earlier. Like, it's very few innings Paul Skeens is going to have 9 pitches or 6 pitches or 5 pitches here because he's looking to make contact. He's a strikeout guy. So that left the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th open, which is what I want to avoid. But also, having said that, he got to a 7-0 lead. You're supposed to win the game and the first 5 innings with relative ease. But let's just say Paxton wasn't on the mound yesterday. Who knows? The Dodgers scoring 6 runs. They probably end up winning that game over the Pirates, but he didn't. And the Pirates were supposed to hit, and they did. And Skeens pitched fairly well against one of the better lineups in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, he pitched very, very well, I would say. And great moments yesterday. The battle with Shohei Ohtani and Shohei's first at-bat, striking him out, blowing him away with 3 straight pitches that were north of 100 miles per hour for Ohtani to recollect in the 3rd inning, a deep shot to straightaway center for Ohtani and a home run. But ultimately, Pittsburgh gets the better of L.A. The Pirates got the better of the starter yesterday for the Dodgers in James Paxton. Now, as we look at the National League Rookie of the Year odds, Shota Imanaga has also been incredible this year for Chicago and remains the favorite. Donnie, do you think there will be a time throughout this Major League Baseball season that Skeens overtakes Imanaga to be that favorite to win NL Rookie of the Year?
I do. I actually do, because the one thing we know about Imanaga, yes, he's a very good pitcher, but we like electric stuff here. And what gets the edge? What leads off SportsCenter and also on the SportsGrid network when we start to talk about it? We're not talking about Imanaga as what another great performance. Today, we went right to Skeens. Yesterday, all we were doing was handicapping this game because of how much fun it was going to be. Not because the Dodgers were good, but what we would get out of Paul Skeens. You take a look at the strikeout numbers. He has a chance, literally, to get close to 10 strikeouts every single time he takes the mound, and that's going to get a lot of highlights here. He's 3-0 already, and he's playing for a Pittsburgh Pirates team that isn't all that great and hovering around 500. Let's just say he runs that number to 7-0 with an average strikeout margin of between 8 to 11 per game. He's going to close that gap on Imanaga, and a lot of people would just say they like the sizzle to go along with their steak, as I like to say, and Skeens gives you that.
There is a lot more notoriety, fair or unfair, on Paul Skeens because of maybe who he is in a relationship with and just being the number 1 overall pick with absolutely electric stuff. And these are narrative awards throughout Major League Baseball. By the way, just quickly here, Jared Jones, 5th best price on that list at 20-1. Also a rookie right-hander for the Pittsburgh Pirates, blanked the Dodgers in shutout work in the opening game in Pittsburgh. The Dodgers have dropped 2 straight inside PNC Park. Elsewhere in the Commonwealth yesterday in the state of Pennsylvania, we go to Philadelphia, where the Phils blanked the Brewers, winning 2-0 to complete the sweep over Milwaukee. Aaron Nola, not a rookie, but darn good yesterday for the Phils as they win all 3 games in this set against Milwaukee, who entered this week in Philadelphia riding a 5-game win streak. Nick Castellanos, home half of the 5th, a 2-run shot. The only scoring we saw yesterday. The Phillies complete the sweep with a 2-0 win in the finale.
Yeah, Castellanos moved up into that 2-hole because JT Realmuto wasn't available in that lineup. 214 now in the season, which isn't great, and only 1 hit yesterday, but it was the biggest hit of the game. So if you're going to be on that Kyle Schwarber plan, I'll hit around 200, but get some clutch hits in here, that's what Castellanos did yesterday. But also, let's keep in mind the embarrassment and riches that the Philadelphia Phillies have. Wheeler, Nola. Yeah, Nola goes out, 7 innings pitched, no earned runs, 5 Ks, no walks. ERA now at 2.77, and even that bullpen, which is smoking hot right now. Hoffman on the season comes in yesterday, throws 1 inning. He's at a .98 ERA. Everything is clicking for the Phillies, and the sign of a really good baseball team is, what do we usually think of the Phillies when they play home in warm weather conditions at Citizens Bank Park? Oh, look at that. The Fighting Phils in a small ballpark, 6-7 runs. Yeah, that's what they're supposed to do. When the Phillies are winning games 2-0 over quality opponents and getting dominant starting pitching, you know the hitting is going to come around as well. 44-19 on the season, and finally getting the respect maybe of the betting public because, hey, look at that. The Phillies aren't playing bottom feeders. They're sweeping teams in first place. It's time to start putting some respect on that Phillies name.
All 3 games in this series featured a combined 9 total runs. It was a low-scoring affair all week long in Milwaukee, or in Philadelphia, rather, with Milwaukee. And the Brewers had the highest over percentage in the bigs entering this week. So, Philadelphia, 44-19, 44 wins, tied for the most in Major League Baseball. because the Yankees keep winning as well. Make that 7 straight victories for New York. 5 straight wins this season over the Minnesota Twins. The Yankees really do have the Twins number with a 9-5 win yesterday up in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, the Yanks are on a machine right now. Maybe you are getting a preview on a night-to-night basis where the Phillies and the Yankees can repeat what they did in 2009, where the Yankees got the best of the Philadelphia Phillies in the World Series. They've been great from all accounts. And also, you just get back to the big guys in that lineup, the Stantons and the Judges, just performing so well, which lifts everybody on that roster. And if we are looking at Aaron Judge with a chance, again, to say this, if Aaron Judge hits 300 on the season, I can't imagine what his final tally is going to be with RBI and also with home runs here. Because, again, we're just getting started in the summer months. We're going to get those hot temperatures in that small ballpark here. I love everything the Yankees are doing, and certainly I think they're far and away, once again, the best team in the American League.
A sign of the times, perhaps, for how great this season has been and the turnaround for Aaron Judge in the last month. He had 1 base knock yesterday in 5 RBIs. A bases clearing triple midway through that baseball game, but grounded out in the first, recorded an RBI. With the bases juiced, he was walked, and it led to an RBI as well. The Yankees victorious 9-5, longest active win streak currently in the Bigs at 7 straight victories. Now we go to Houston, where the fork had been away for most of this week. But Donnie just opened up the drawer, and he's grabbing that finest silverware that he can find, because the Cardinals avoid the sweep yesterday in H-Town against the Astros with a 4-2 victory for St. Louis. Really back and forth game, each team scoring twice in the 5th inning, but Nolan Arenado, a solo shot in the 6th. It was the insurance run that St. Louis needed. The Cardinals avoid the sweep.
Yeah, Michaelis was good. 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs yesterday. Only 3 Ks, did give up the 2 home runs. But how about this? 6 innings, Ben, 62 total pitches, and they pulled him out of the game, handed over to the bullpen, which solidified the rest of that game. But also, St. Louis, I do think they're eventually going to be a player in the Central Division. I'm just done with the Houston Astros. And also, Ben, sometimes you say, who's coming back to your team midseason? The Astros seem like they're losing guys on a day-to-day basis from the front-end rotation and or players. We know it doesn't end well. And just to get back to those old Madden terms, just because you're injured in your starting lineup here for the Houston Astros doesn't mean like, oh, they had their 2 injuries, they're done for the rest of the way, just turn them off. That's not going to happen. You'll get more attrition as you go. The Houston Astros, 28-35. I don't think we can rescue them at this point now.
Ryan Helsley, by the way, back end of the bullpen for the Redbirds, their closer, his 20th save of the season yesterday. That leads all of Major League Baseball. NBA Finals talk finally next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game Time Decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, It's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
3-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
After a very long layoff, game number one, night number one of the 2024 NBA Finals has finally arrived. Tonight inside TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts, it's the Celtics in the hunt for championship number 18. That would be a record for the most all-time in the history of the association. Host the Dallas Mavericks into their third ever NBA Finals, the first appearance into the championship series for Dallas as an organization since they won the Larry O'Brien Trophy back in 2011. Donnie, we have waited. It has been 7 days without an actual NBA playoff game since the Mavericks took care of the Timberwolves in only 5 games in the Western Conference Finals exactly a week ago. Boston hasn't played since Memorial Day Monday, after sweeping the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. And on this day of the opening night of the 2024 NBA Finals, here is the line for game number one. The Celtics will enter as a 6.5-point home favorite. The over-under stands at 215 and a hook. There will be plenty of breakdowns and previews coming your way throughout these next 2.5 hours to get you set for the NBA Finals. But DRS, we have finally arrived. What are your impressions of the numbers for game number one?
Looks pretty strong for the Boston Celtics here, being a favorite of close to 7 points at home. We know how dominant the Boston Celtics have been at home this season, and rightfully so. They have been decent in the playoffs at home. They just finished off that sweep against the Pacers, but they did lose back-to-back game number 2s on their home court in their first 2 rounds. We'll see if that holds up, because if you are the Mavericks, you got to get in and steal one in Boston before you head back to Dallas to shift back that home court advantage. But also, when we handicap these situations, we talked about this ad nauseum, and we had a lot of time to get ready for this game, but I still have in my mind rest versus rust. And both, it's not as like saying like, well, one team had 3 days off, one team had all 19 days off, right? It's both about equal here. Both of these teams will be rested and ready, but the problem is going to be is sometimes when you take players out of their normal NBA routine, which they've been following all the way since back in October, and you place them back in an environment where it's not even just, hey, we took a week off for the Olympic break and we're back on a random Thursday night in February to play the Charlotte or New Orleans at this point. No, this is the NBA Finals. This is the biggest spotlight of your career. And last time I checked here, the Dallas Mavericks, when's the last time they won a championship with the players on their team? And also you take a look at the Boston Celtics. Same thing you could be said across. This is a big spot environment in game number one right out of the break. Could we get a lower scoring first quarter, slowness into it as these two teams feel it out? That's what I'm worried about the most here entering into game number one.
It is the age-old debate, rest versus rust, but both teams have been off for at least 7 days. I actually think the team that had the least amount of time off, being the Dallas Mavericks, is the beneficiary, not because they had a shorter amount of time off or they feel a little bit fresher because it's a week, but Luka Doncic, who by all accounts has been slightly hobbled, yet brilliant throughout this NBA postseason, got some much-needed time to figure things out with that knee, but you could make a similar argument, I guess, for the Celtics and Kristaps Porzingis. Again, plenty of previews specifically for game number one and the numbers to know to start the NBA Finals tonight coming your way over these next 2+ hours. But Donnie and I dive in to an NBA Finals pick six. We often give you a pick six throughout times in the sports calendar throughout a year. Oftentimes it's for a National Football League weekend. Here's how the pick six works this time around. Who we think ends up as the NBA champion. What the exact series score is going to be. Who wins that NBA Finals MVP award. An X factor that could dictate the outcome of this series. Our favorite series leader bet. Who's going to lead the series in points, assists, threes, so on and so forth. And a series special with some plus money to know as well. Donnie, right side, kick us off. When all is said and done, between the Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks, who goes home as an NBA champion?
The NBA champions should be the Boston Celtics. They're favored to do so. They have home court advantage. They were the best team wire to wire in the NBA. Nothing in the playoffs has shown us that they wouldn't be able to compete against the Dallas Mavericks. They were down one of their starters, still easily able to pound teams in 5 games and also 4 games with that final sweep there of the Pacers. So as I'm lining this series up, do I want it to go long? Absolutely. Do I really enjoy watching Luka Doncic play and Kyrie Irving? Phenomenal stuff here. So entertainment purposes, I'm looking forward to it. But the better team here, the deeper team, the team with home court advantage, the team that's favored, that's the Boston Celtics. They should be able to win the NBA championship here.
I agree with you, DRS. I bet the Celtics on March the 20th at a plus 220 price to win the NBA championship this season. As I was starting to see how the Eastern Conference laid out, I didn't think it would be as easy for the C's as we saw throughout this NBA postseason, but it made a lot of sense that Boston was going to win the East and at least be here in the NBA Finals, so I had that cash out or hedge out opportunity. I do have a little bit of investment then on the Dallas Mavericks just to cover my behind, if you know what I am saying. But ultimately, I do believe it is going to be the Boston Celtics. I think this series can really be boiled down to one main ingredient. Boston, the better overall team. Dallas, the better overall superstar, best overall player in Luka Doncic. Maybe better duo with Doncic and Irving versus Tatum and Brown. But ultimately, I believe the balance and the depth at this stage in an NBA Finals will be too much for the Boston Celtics. We have seen a slight bit of movement for the lines for game number 1. The Celtics opened as a 6-point favorite, total at 214 and a hook. The over-under is up by a point. We have added on the hook to the spread in favor of the C's, and we've seen 5 cents of movement in those outright prices you just saw, minus 220 when this series was determined, minus 225 now in Boston's favor. So we both think it will be the Celtics, but in how many games?
I think this is going to go long, right? So game 6 you're probably looking at, and if I think Boston is going to win it, where is it hard to usually win late in the series? A lot of pressure. That's going to be all road. So if I were to say to myself, I do think the Celtics would win this, it's kind of tough for me to say in 6. Now, maybe 5 games could be possible, but if I'm looking for a longer series, which I think does happen, I don't think it gets done in 5. So I'm going to go ahead with the Celtics in 7 games here to win it. And how much fun would that be to get a full 7-game series to watch this play out? And I'm sure one of those superstars on the Celtics will be able to rise to the occasion on their home court. So I'm going to go Boston 4-3 in this series at a plus 340 price.
So, DRS, I actually think both teams will get a win on the road. Each team will have at least one win on the road throughout the NBA Finals. And Boston is actually a perfect 6-0 straight up away from TD Garden, where they have had the home floor advantage all postseason long throughout this playoff run. So give me Boston in 6 at plus 470. Third shortest number for how this NBA Finals is ultimately determined. More with our NBA Finals Pick 6 next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game Time Decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We continue our 2024 NBA Finals Pick 6 to go all around the championship series to find you some numbers you need to know. And those numbers and odds, of course, associated with how we think this series is playing out. So both Donnie and I believe the Boston Celtics will win championship number 18 when all is said and done in the NBA Finals. DRS thinks it's season 7. I think it's the Celtics in 6. So if we both believe Boston is victorious, then the NBA Finals MVP is coming from this Celtics organization. Who wins the hardware?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, too, because typical me, I'd probably I think Luka Doncic can win the MVP. And I pulled up these highlights previously here where I had the All-Star Game MVP and I picked the other team to win, and it actually landed exactly that way. So sometimes you can get crazy and win, but we're right here. You can't go ahead and say, if I think the Celtics are going to win, let me see how amazing Luka Doncic is going to be in the series. So it's pretty easy for me. It's Jason Tatum at a minus 125 price. The biggest superstars got to step up in those biggest moments, and none bigger than this moment for Jason Tatum. Now, there is a part of me that says, well, Donnie, if you're going to bet Jason Tatum to win, that means you're rooting for the Celtics, which is tough. But again, you have to separate the fandom from the actual money you believe you can make on a certain game or a series. But having said that, if the Celtics did lose and Tatum didn't play well, this offseason would be so incredible to watch in Boston with all the heat the Celtics would take as being the best team that can never get over the hump and continuously chokes in the biggest moments here. But I do think the Celtics get over the hump, and a big reason is going to be why Jason Tatum's going to have a really good final series. That's the expectation.
You are spot on. If Boston falls short once again of an NBA championship with this core led by the Jays, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, you would have to think there are sweeping changes coming to the C's at a certain point this summer. But like you, I don't believe that happens. And like you, in a narrative-defining series for Jason Tatum, in a narrative award that is given out, which is the Finals MVP, I think Tatum takes home the award. Jaylen Brown got the Eastern Conference Finals MVP award. Tatum gets the NBA Finals MVP award. And it's not like Tatum was atrocious against Indiana. He scored 23 or more in all 4 games. He had 36 in half, twice of the games against the Pacers. It's just that Jaylen Brown hit the game-tying shot to send it to OT in game number 1. Had a 40-point performance in game number 2 and was great down the stretch in that closeout game in game number 4. So Jaylen Brown got the edge, not this time around. If the Boston Celtics win the NBA championship, Jason Tatum will win the NBA Finals MVP. Who is our X factor for this NBA championship series?
Drew Holiday for me. So if we're taking a look at an X factor, how's he going to be able to impact the game? One of those players that's been there, done that before, an NBA veteran, but more importantly, plays very good defense. And so if we're looking towards offensive scoring, we understand Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are going to do the majority of that. But when you take a look at that defensive side, just as important, if not maybe even more important than the scoring, is slowing down the 2 superstars of the Dallas Mavericks. So if you're going to take a look at Kyrie Irving, maybe hold him to under his season points average, and doing the same thing with Luka Doncic, that's going to help you win an NBA championship just as much as scoring 30 points a game. The X factor for me, not on the offensive end, but on the defensive end, it's Drew Holiday.
I think it's a really fair point, DRS. Drew Holiday is who I had in there initially. Then I changed my answer to Derek White. And here's why I'm going with Derek White, but I think Drew Holiday makes a lot of sense on the defensive end of the floor. The reason I think Boston is victorious against Dallas in this NBA Finals is because of the balance and depth that the Celtics possess. The the better team will win the championship versus the better superstar in Luka Doncic. Derek White has attempted 8 or more threes in 11 of the 14 playoff games that Boston has played so far. His 3 points prop tonight is 2.5, and the over isn't even all that juiced at -128. The volume is there for Derek White to hit 3, 4, 5 threes throughout every game in this NBA Finals, and that, I think, is a big difference. The depth of Boston, having those key role guys who are darn good, like a Derek White, like a Drew Holiday. In fact, Kristaps Porzingis returning as well. Derek White gets my nod. Series leader, DRS, what was your best bet there?
Yeah, you know what? Let's have some fun with this. Sometimes you'll go for a lower price point. I wanted to go for a higher price point, and I do expect a lot of motivation to be on the side of Kyrie Irving, but also one of those guys where you have to get the rest of the offense in the flow along with your own. Kyrie Irving, series leader in assists. How about this? At a 16-1 price. So Kyrie delivering the goods to the other players on wide open three-point shots. Because how many times do you see this, right? We know we have to slow down Doncic and Irving. A lot easier said than done. A lot of guys are going to have wide open looks here. If they can knock down those shots, you get a lot of assists. Give me Kyrie 16-1.
We'll wrap up our 2024 NBA Finals Pick 6 when hour number 2 begins on the other side of the break. Live right here on this Thursday on the Early Line.